Story time's over. I'm here. I'm tuned in.
Story time. That's actually why we're here, Jesse.
Yeah. It's very true. Do you want to hear how we got the trailer off the hitch with Oscar? It's a good story.
Did you use the floor jack?
We used the floor jack. We used the bottle jack. We lifted the 250 off the ground a little bit. It was all good.
Oh.
Those old horse trailers.
Is Oscar with you?
No, he's not. But I just saw him. I just saw him on Saturday. We had a good little trailer adventure. I said, Oscar, you hanging around for a little bit? He goes, no, I'm off to wherever he was going next. I'm like, man, you're a machine.
That dude doesn't stop.
He is a machine. He's been up and down the coast.
No. Yeah, I can tell.
Nope, he just keeps going. He is honestly he's like the most helpful person that I've ever met. I think one of them. He's like, all right, cool. I'll go back. I mean, Dan's up in Grand Rapids. Wave, Dan. You over there? Yeah, Dan's in Grand Rapids, and he was signed up to go do the next mission to the van and the coach boat. By the time Oscar called him, he was already in Michigan with it. Like, no, I got it. Like, all right. Sounds good, Oscar. But, yeah, shout out to Oscar in Connecticut. I don't think he's chiming in tonight, but.
He's on vacation in Stanford.
Right. Yes. As we've all had vacations various times in Stanford.
Only due to broken equipment.
Down there, you'll probably get a chance if you hang around us long enough.
It'll be just so consider it a lucky day.
It's 7:01 right now. We'll give it a couple of minutes. That way we don't cut somebody off who's a couple seconds late. I mean, I'm always late. Give everybody a chance to be a little late.
Yeah. 7:05 would be on time for me.
Yep.
That trailer is in pretty good shape, though, Ben. Do you think so?
That trailer is a great trailer. That was the old.
Heavy.
Yeah,
it's heavy.
Yeah, I talked to Pirate about it. It's really heavy. That is, I'm not sure why. It takes a big vehicle to move it around. It's great.
That Bambaku trailer that was abandoned in NEB, kind of like the same size platform. But the beams on the Tiburon trailer are twice the size, and the wheels are twice the size. Well, not twice the size. The wheels are 20% bigger, and the main beams are almost the same. Like maybe it was just for bigger horses.
Yeah, I don't know. We could ask Pirate about it and see what he's the one that kind of designed that thing when they built it for Tiburon. But it's it's a workhorse.
Yeah, Clydesdale of trailers.
I don't know. Pirate keeps sending me like pictures of bandit koozies and stuff, so I don't know what he's got going on. I don't think he's that busy.
He's missing sailing.
Yes. So I think like most people.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back out there.
Yeah.
Actually, it's about to start up in Rhode Island. This weekend coming up, there's something called the 2000 Club. Does that ring a bell? It's kind of an older, like Cruising America type membership, and they're going to run a race around, or for Bridge to Bridge. They're calling it the Bridge Fiasco in Rhode Island, and that's going to be fun. And then June 23rd, Tuesday night sailing starts. So the little clubs are all doing their thing, which is, it's great to see sailing go back into the hands of smaller organizations and re-empower smaller clubs, because just the nature of things, that's gone the opposite way for the last 10 years. So it's nice to see it trickle back, and the people that are opening the season are the smaller clubs.
Yeah, and they're able to run. Yeah, you just have a smaller footprint, and you can make decisions on a smaller. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, that's a big thing to get things going. I think Charlevoix Yacht Club start Wednesday nights, June 10th is their plan. So, yeah, I mean, it's a total change. But, all right. Hey, Corey, I gave you permission to record, so I think you and Ian and I are all recording. That way we can clip this thing together.
Sounds good.
for those of you that have joined us live, thank you all for making it. Appreciate it. And then as every Warrior Watch, we end up recording them, you can go back and look at the other ones. We'll send everybody the link, and it'll be promoted on social media as well. But these are, we're just trying to keep in touch with everybody and get everybody connected again and get everybody more familiar with some of the people who are involved in warrior sailing. And coaches are kind of where we started. I'm sure we're going to branch off a little bit and get some more characters involved. But the main objective, obviously, is just to kind of stay in touch with everybody. You know, I was thinking about this when I was driving, but, you know, it's a little hard to just ignore or skip past a lot of things that are happening right now. I think all of us are consumed with different news stories or different things and trying to shut it off. But the one thing that kept coming back in my mind, and Jesse, you've kind of been a part of this, but from the beginning, Warrior Sailing's main objective, and we kind of coined the phrase inclusive sailing. Not really adaptive sailing. I mean, we do a lot of adaptive sailing and adapting boats in the way that we teach for different people and different ideas and the way that people learn, or people that might have some physical disabilities. But we kind of felt like it was more than that with Warrior Sailing, and inclusive sailing became what we were kind of referring to it as, because it's opening the door and providing opportunities for everybody. And in the light of everything that's happening, that's our goal, objective, and, you know, think globally, act locally. And we're a small knit family of people just trying to introduce people to sailing. And doesn't matter who you are, what your background is. We happen to focus on people in the military who've had prior service, and there's a big diverse group of individuals that have come out to our camps. And I just want to keep everybody on that loop that, hey, this is inclusive sailing. So as we get back into sailing and get back into things, I just wanted to say that before we get started and talk about sailing. There's a lot of big things going on right now. Pretty wild. But we can stick to, on the Warrior Watch, some sailing and introducing Jesse Fielding.
Howdy,
there he
team.
is, man.
Like to think of myself as one of the original members of the family, and an honor to be considered as much. So, thanks for having me, Ben, and everyone.
Yeah. No, thanks for being here and taking the time. Usually, what we've been doing is like skipping any of the sailing career. Really, we were just talking about life. Where are you from?
Well, I was born out in California, but in a very roundabout way, something like a figure-8 course, I ended up on the East Coast in a little town called Wickford, Rhode Island. And it's pretty hard to grow up around Rhode Island and not get on a boat at least once or twice. And my first time on a boat, I just fell in love with sailing and really haven't stopped since. And along the way, you quickly learn that it's not about the boat or the cleat or the sail. It's about the people you meet. And I've been super fortunate to meet not only the best in the business, but some of the biggest hearts on the planet that I've ever met. And so when you follow those people, you end up in great places. And that's how I ended up introduced to the Warrior Sailing Group. But it's all about the people and the relationships once you take the sails down, and you learn to value that. But that came from a junior sailing experience in the state of Rhode Island, which again, I coming from other places and other states, I grew up a little bit in Arizona, Florida, Massachusetts, mostly landlocked and in those scenarios. And so when you find sailing, you find this incredible freedom, and that's what's gotten me here, just chasing that freedom. And I think to Ben's point earlier, we all keep doing the crazy adventures. If you can't see all the random light, looks like I'm at a discotheque, it's because I'm driving up to New Hampshire with my little brother, because he's buying a new car, and new to him, to be specific. And I'm going to drive this rig I'm in back home after. And it's always about the team. You know, it's about a team effort with your brothers and sisters and people you love and care about. And that's what you do for someone on a boat. That's what you do for someone on land. And, you know, you don't have to have the same parents. You gotta embrace that mentality and lean into a bigger family than just you. And so, when Ben introduced me to Warrior Sailing, that's the feeling, and that's the feeling you get. And, you do keep it simple, right, Ben? I mean, that's part of what you learn the first day you go sailing. It may seem really complicated at minute 0, but by minute 60, it's half as complicated. And by day 60, it's half as complicated again. And, you know, by, I don't know what hour we're on, but it's not as complicated as it used to be.
In my sailing? No, I don't know. Yeah, and that's one of the things that we've talked about in the Warrior Watch, and I think it's something that's always emphasized with the people I've interviewed. You know, it's the network, and it's the people involved in sailing. And I've said this a couple times, that like one of my favorite parts about sailing is introducing the coaches to the program, because it's a rare situation that the coaches have to actually get revived in the sport of sailing and like have this rejuvenation of what they really enjoy about sailing, and bringing it back to the simplicity and teaching people that skill. And it's just expanding the network to people that we wouldn't normally get to see. So, you know, you were one of those folks that was like, I just knew from the beginning, it was like, this is how we do this, you know?
Well, you talked about inclusive sailing, and sort of, you know, it is important to put things in boxes and appropriately label things so you can find them again. But at the end of the day, what you just said really hit home, because it's always been about just going sailing for me. What do you want to do today? Well, it's a day that ends in Y, the sun's out, the wind's blowing, just want to go sailing. And like you said, it doesn't matter what the setup is in the cockpit or the special bench, or, you know, who's pulling on what, but as long as you're with some other people and you're on a boat and the sails are up, life is good in my world. And so you guys, of all the programs I've come across, embrace that first and prioritize that first. And then all the other stuff doesn't have to be labeled or boxed up, or, you know, put a brand on it. It's just about going sailing, which therefore makes it ultimately inclusive. And sailing, from my perspective as a professional and a member of the industry and someone that wants to see sailing grow, just like, you know, a lot of people on this call, we can't be inclusive enough. You know, we need to just lean into the fact that it's not about, you know, the fancy life jacket or the fancy sail. It's about just going sailing. That's what I did when growing up, and that's why I'm still doing it, and that's why everyone on this call's enjoyed going sailing, because it really can be simple. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, keeping it that way is what I've been trying to do. It's kind of hard sometimes. People try and make it more complicated than it needs to be.
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of leads me into that next kind of question, is the progression, because you say you're a professional sailor, you're in the industry, and I want to emphasize this is one of the things I keep saying in these Warrior Watches, that, and you could highlight this probably better than anybody, in kind of the burnout phase in certain sections of your life with sailing, but any kind of industry. But just kind of talking about my expectations for warriors in learning how to sail is to be a part of the community, but to develop the best amateur sailors that enjoy sailing so much, but are really good at it, but not necessarily aiming for that professional life. Not that there won't be a couple people that do that and have interest in doing that, but could you kind of explain in how long of a progress? And I know that, you know, maybe highlight a couple things as to how your progression from childhood sailing into what would become professional sailing for you. Like what is the kind of general progression? And I know Ralphie's involved in that, but we can go there as well. But how did you progress into where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, of course you can't just go 0 to hero, and there's a lot of steps along the way. And I think it's always important to, especially in sailing, because there's kind of some quiet risks, I call them. It's important to focus on the process and not the result. So if you if you want your result to be a professional career in the sport, if you focus on trying to get there too quickly, you're going to capsize basically. So I've learned to ease my personal main sheet, in and out, if you will. And you got to regulate that process of really going at it as fast as you can. And then also realizing you need to slow down a little bit and absorb more than just what you think you've learned. And that comes with time. My personal progression, like I said, I was fortunate enough to find sailing in Rhode Island. And so with Rhode Island comes an industry and an economy around boats. And so I was lucky from a teenage, sailor to be able to pick up a lot of skills and be around guys that were doing that same thing. And so I knew from the time I was a younger teenager that I really wanted to make it a profession. And I've been trying to figure it out ever since. There's no magic formula. And it really comes down to the people, the people you're around, the people you surround yourself with, and then how you carry yourself, because you're a person to somebody else, right? And they see you in the way that you see other people. And so as long as you keep that honest and open with what you're looking for out of the sport, and the activity and the experience, as long as your expectations are always honest with yourself and other people around you, I found that people are limitless in their excitement to help you get to where you want to get to in sailing. It's a really, sailing's as big as the oceans that cover this planet. So it can be daunting about where you want to navigate yourself in the sailing world. But like I said, as long as you keep it honest with yourself about what you're capable of, and then building on that and directing yourself, navigating yourself, if you will, knowing where you can go and how fast you can go there, then you'll be on a path that, frankly, a lot of people sail their entire lives, and it's a sport and an activity where you can stay engaged for a very long time, physically. So it's kind of great in that way. I kind of feel like I'm just hitting the midpoint of my sailing career. I've probably learned enough not to go off the rails, not to capsize at least half as much when the gusts.
Well, you figured out how to right the boat, Jesse. I think we've all capsized. I think righting the boat is a second skill in that progression. You got to make sure you know how to do that before you actually get out there.
I grew up sailing lasers, so you had to get really good at riding the boat a lot.
Yeah. So there was you went to University of Rhode Island? Is that the?
Yep. Went to the University of Rhode Island. Again, that Rhode Island theme comes up because it kept me close to the sport, kept me close to the water. And when I was at URI, there happened to be a national occurrence, if you will, or an effort where basically one of the big sailors in the world at the time, who was sort of phasing out of his professional, career as a boat owner, Roy Disney wanted to give back to the sport as he was going down the other side of the bell curve. And he, and a lot of basically embraced youth team on the Transpac in 2007 and put out a national kind of casting call, if you will. Turns out it was a casting call, but it was by resume. And so I ended up getting selected, putting in my resume, didn't think anything would come of it. But if you were 19 years old at the time, you could not do it. Put in the resume, got selected for round one of the tryouts, made it through there, ended up making the team that was going to train, and then ended up making the team that was going to do the race. And so had this incredible experience of getting across my first ocean on the Transpac race in 2007. And that sort of, launched me into continuing to chase that professional career. So, you know, there's always luck in life, and I like to put luck in quotes because if I sort of believe you gotta want to make your own luck. You got to fill out the form. You got to show up. You know, most of life is showing up and doing your best with what you've got when you're there. And so, you know, once I got the chance to show up, I got this incredible opportunity to kind of be a young professional, and you know, been riding that wave to Hawaii ever since.
Well, in the movie, if you Warriors, if you want to go check it out, it's Morning Light. And it was full documented. You know, they dramatize a couple things, and it's been pretty funny to know everybody that's involved in it because we always bring it up. But it really was one of those opportunities with someone that loved the sport of sailing, Roy Disney, and his effort to give back. And if you look at the people that were on that boat, you know, I like to say that Ralph picked up the slack from there and then kind of rode it on to the next situation. But
it was like
it's
his
really
stop
amazing.
again.
Yeah. And it's pretty amazing that group that did the movie, really, everybody's still involved, you know, in different aspects of the sport, but everybody runs into each other, and it's back to that network thing. You know, you put yourself in the right place at the right time, and you get selected, and you work really hard. And that was not that easy. I mean, you know, now it's like, I mean, it's amazing how many years ago it was. And, you know, it's like the movie Wind or Morning Light are the two movies shown at every sailing kid's rainy day. You know, who would have thought? That's crazy. Who
would have thought? Yeah, I never would have thought. I grew up watching Wind and 18-foot skiffs. That was my jam.
Yeah. and Jesse called me, I don't know, a week and a half ago and said, hey, this group from Harbor Springs is interested in Michigan to bring me out to talk to some kids about the Morning Light movie. And, you know, it's like, it kind of always kind of comes back to that as that like start. And that, you know, those are great opportunities. It takes somebody like Roy, Ralph, other guys really that put themselves out there, that get some young people on the boat. I never, you know, stop at the chance to let a kid on the boat, right? If somebody's standing on the dock and they want to go sailing, you're going sailing.
It's the real example of what true leadership is in the world, right? It's actually leading on the front foot, you know, in the front line. And it doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or you're directing a foundation, or, you know, again, I can't speak to it, or you're on, you know, the front lines of anything in the world, trying to find a vaccine, whatever it is, right? Whatever your mission is that you're on in life, you want to be the person leading from the front foot. And you see that in Ralph, you see that in Roy, you know, you see that in people that know they want to do something, and then they do it, and they set an example and a tone, and that's leadership. You know, Roy, I don't think Roy ever used the word leadership. Didn't have to, just did it. You know, just showed it. And, you know, full credit to him, you know, put his money where his mouth was and did it.
Yeah. And do you have like a specific memory from Roy Disney? I never got to meet him. So he's kind of like this mythological, you know, it's like people are like, what? Does his name just happen to be Disney? No, it's Roy Disney. Yeah. And he was a big time sailor. What do you take away from that, or meeting him? And is he the son of Walt or a grandson?
He's a nephew. So his dad and Walt were brothers and very involved in the company. And Roy, frankly, if you read, there's a couple of great books to read. One of them is Disney Wars. But for all intents and purposes, Roy basically saved the Disney company from a path it was on towards kind of losing its way in the world. I'll say that. You got to read the book to listen to smarter people discuss it. But he rallied the shareholders, again, via his unbelievable leadership quality, and had the shareholders as a team put the company back on track. And that just, again, speaks to Roy's innate leadership ability, and we saw that every day. My favorite memory of Roy, it's hard to pick one, but the fact that I saw him most days is a favorite. I mean, he imparted a lot of great wisdom on us, but he showed up. He showed up every day, made sure we were thinking about the right things, and that we knew that we were in charge of our destiny with that program. And it's something you need. He knew what we needed. That's another good leadership quality, is that, you know, it's not always directing traffic or bossing people around. Matter of fact, it's probably less of that. It's seeing a need for the team or the group and filling in silently. And that was Roy. He'd turn up at breakfast with his cup of coffee and Mickey Mouse cup and be like, hey guys, I think you should push a little harder today. You know, don't take your foot off the gas pedal at the end of the day. Make sure you put the kite up and, you know, give it a rip in, and from you know, Cocoa Head, and don't forget that last jibe. There's always that shift off Molokai. I mean, he knew so many little things about his favorite race course. It was just so special to be around the guy.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are the things, like, who would have thought, you know, you're URI and all of a sudden you're going to be sitting in a room with Roy Disney, you know, he's going to be telling you about wind shifts off of Hawaii. But I mean, come on.
No, you awesome. just gotta lean, take a deep breath and lean into it. Try to not pinch yourself too many times.
Yeah, and so that led to a little bit of, like, so in the introduction, and for those of you involved in Warrior Sailing, you don't know that we're a program of the U.S. MMA Sailing Foundation, which Jesse's sporting the hat and sporting the shirt. But our you know, favorite fearless leader, Ralph Steitz, is the executive director, and really stepped up to the plate when Warrior Sailing got started and got the foundation behind this effort. And the boats that belong to the foundation and the boat donation program are used by Warrior Sailing free of charge. I mean, the guy lets us use his crazy cool boats all the time to take us sailing. And everybody that is involved in the program usually has some sort of connection to Ralph. And you're going to see this in the theme of Warrior Watches, is like, he's like the Kevin Bacon of sailing, I guess. Everybody has some sort of connection to Ralph. He's helped every American sailor get on their feet. So after the Morning Light program, you were involved in the All-American Offshore team, right? I mean, there's always steps in between, but that was the next kind of thing that Ralph got you involved in. And what was that campaign? What's your experience with that? Whoa. He must be going through Wickford. I think he'll come back in a minute. Here, I can do a, once Jesse's back on here, I'll, looks like we lost him here for a minute. You look at the Morning Light movie here. This was the TP-52 that Roy Disney donated to the program and let them sail. You can pick out some of the guys. We've had multiple people that have coached with us. Let's see if we can find them. Yeah, where's Fielding? There he is. Oh yeah, that was the group of young guys that ended up getting picked for the show and to do the movie. And I just think it's just amazing that he had the opportunity to do that. And there's also there's just a bunch of people that have been involved in that program and have come out of that. I mean, Mark Towell and Charlie Enright doing the Volvo Ocean Race. For those of you that were able to go, they were on that boat. And then from there, Ralph really picked up a group of guys that really had interest in continuing on and doing another project. And that's what we call campaigns. You know, pick a boat, pick a race, kind of have a goal, go raise some money and kind of go do that sort of thing. And sometimes in professional sense, it means finding sponsorship. But Ralph was able to get this group of guys and gals together that were really interested, and he provided the boat through the boat donation program. So somebody donated the boat to him. and he found this group of young guys that went out and raised money, and they put it together, put them on a big boat. They did a transatlantic race and then the Fastnet race as a group of all-American offshore under 30 years old. And some of those people, including Jesse, including a couple other people, are still in the industry as well, being boat captains and running various programs and are in and around kind of the professional sailing scene. It's pretty cool when people can take advantage of those sort of things.
I've got the trailer as well queued up for Morning Light if everyone wants to see younger Jesse before he gets back on here. And yeah, he beat us to it. He's back.
Oh, good. Show it. Let's do it. Oh, is he back?
He's back.
There he is.
Stop talking about him.
Yeah, shh. He's here.
He's muted though.
I'm back.
There we go.
Sorry.
It's all good. Is that Massachusetts?
Oh no, we're long past Massachusetts. I'm in the rolling hills here of New Hampshire. Tax-free and apparently service-free too.
Nice. Well, I was just explaining a little bit of the All-American Offshore team and kind of that experience.
I'm sure you nailed all the highlights. Yeah,
you still know those guys?
Yep. They're a lot more famous now, but we still keep in touch. And I think in Ralph's wisdom and leadership that you were talking about earlier, he said, "Okay, if you can do a Transpac, that's nice. It's windy, but it's downwind. It's warm. Okay. Well, if you really want to be ocean racers, you got to cross the Atlantic." And this was in 2011, 2 years after Roy passed away. And we said, yeah, we got to take this on. If we really want to do it, we got to take this on. We got to get out there on the front foot. And Ralph happened to have a boat that he knew was well suited for it. The rest of the sailing world didn't necessarily agree. And again, it's all about the right people. Ralph said you can't do it without a guy named Jan Meyer. And Jan's a doer in the foundation. Accolades as long as the highway I was just on. But Ralph said, if you're going to do it with Jan, and he's going to teach you guys more than you think you know. Classic Ralphie fashion. And we showed up to Baltimore and we started sanding and fixing and putting together. And I don't know, 40, 50 days later, we had ourselves a mini maxi, 10 feet longer, 10 plus feet longer than the Transpac 52, and a couple more people. Getting across the Atlantic Ocean, and that went well. And then we parlayed that into a Fastnet race, which is again a dream of all of ours to do that. And we had a very sporty race that year. And a constant theme has been, as you talk about with all the warriors when we go sailing, is safety. And the 2011 Fastnet race was quite the sea story. The Volvo 70 fleet set the course record for monohulls, and the Rambler 100 flipped over in front of us, rounding Fastnet Rock. 100-foot cane and keel maxi capsized is no joke. And especially when you know some of the people on board, all the people on board, and they're in the Irish Sea. And so to get through that race was definitely a big step for us as a group. And, we knew we wanted to keep going after that. That was one of those turning points or one of those inflection points where you could either say, this path isn't quite right for me, or this path is the one I want to keep trying. And we did. Guys on that boat, the leaders of that boat, Mark Tal and Charlie Enright, have formed the marquee partnership of my generation in ocean racing. Evolve ocean race, and we're going to do it again in the ocean race. Foils beneath it, and so I think people keep coming up and again, and there's a reason for that. It's the DNA of leadership. I don't call it that. I'm sure lots of people write books about that stuff, but there's no mystery as to why the same blood keeps passing through the sport in the ways that it does. And I'm lucky enough to call those people friends. I could call them when I've got questions.
Yeah. So that kind of leads, into the Warrior Sailing section. So, well, before we do that though, what are you doing now? Besides riding in your car with your brother in New Hampshire.
Other than driving around the backwoods of New Hampshire looking for a diesel TDI.
Yeah.
Well, currently I work for North Sails, which is has been a great opportunity and something I've always wanted to do. To really dig into the technical side of one little feature of the sport, to really dig into a niche and really scratch the surface of what one job list looks like, and that's the sail inventory. You learn a lot from getting very specific. So that's been great. And I've met a lot of great clients that I've been fortunate to partner with. It feels like a partnership, but I treat everyone as a teammate, no matter who you are and no matter what our relationship is. It's just my natural inclination because of how I grew up in the sport. And had some great adventures with all the people I've sailed with North Sails on their boats. And it looks like there's more ocean racing in my future, which I can't be happy enough about, and feel really lucky and privileged in this time in the world to even be able to consider, going competitive sailing. So more on that in the future. Can't really say anything today, but
that wasn't a
there's
leading
gonna be a
question,
bright
Jesse.
future
I wasn't trying to
for the
get
hat
any
on my
answers
head.
out of you. I'll call Ralph if I want to know more about
Well,
it.
I just exactly.
He'll spill the beans.
No, I think
There's no
gonna be
question
something
about that one.
Yep. I think this sticker will feature in places, and I know it's important that we get everyone involved. So I'm looking forward to having everyone involved.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And I think one of the first things that I got you...
It's all about going sailing.
I think one of the first things that I got you involved in was a random phone call when I introduced you to Warrior Sailing. Was the Sonar Worlds, I think, wasn't it? Wasn't that one of the first things that you had the experience of doing?
Yeah, I think we could say that would probably be the first major milestone with Warrior Sailing.
So
Absolutely.
Before we had Corey organizing things in a really efficient manner, Ben tried to do everything himself, which is why we have Corey. And we did a world championship with a couple Warriors at the beginning on a sonar. And the Sonar World Championship, meaning against all world champions and everybody involved, was in Falmouth, Massachusetts. And I sent a team in our boat, and I asked Jesse to go sail with them. I got a lot of really entertaining phone calls over that week. I think, back to that leadership.
Which one was your most entertaining?
I think the hole in the boat, but then the follow-up answer was that you ran into the Commodore of the club hosting the World Championship. I think that those two phone calls were great, but then it always ended up that you made more friends because you ran into somebody, and everyone loves the program, and they were so enthusiastic about you guys getting out there and breaking as much as your stuff, but the resilience of getting back out there to do it again, I think was really cool. I mean, we did learn a couple lessons from there that maybe having the blind sailor drive in a world championship with his inexperience, not necessarily the fact that he was blind, but that had added a little bit of communication that I think maybe some more training might have been in hand to really help with results.
But it was the best excuse ever.
Yeah, you can't blame Scott for running into the Commodore. He didn't know that he was there, and it was mostly Guy Mossman's fault if he's on the line. But that was entertaining. And since then, you've been back coaching at basic camps, right? A couple basic camps, and kind of keeping up with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And frankly, it was great to get thrown right into the mix, and
You got thrown right into the mix.
you're not only skill building, but you're just going sailing. You're doing the thing that we all love to do. So I've been fortunate enough, Ben, and correct my record if I'm wrong, I've probably been to 4 or 5 basic camps, and they've been in – you always put them on in awesome places. San Diego, Texas, Great Lakes, Newport, Rhode Island, Annapolis, Maryland. I mean, you don't pick any bad places. So if anyone's thinking about coming and joining Warrior Sailing at a basic camp, everyone should know they're not going to have a bad time.
Yeah. And then we throw some characters on the boat with you. I mean, it all kind of works itself out.
Definitely. As sailing always does.
So, yes, it does. All right. So usually at the end of these things, I got like kind of a set couple questions, and we'll end on those. And then we always compare them to see who's got the best ones. It's like a hot seat, but it's really not that crazy. I guess the first one, we've talked a little bit about it, but what would you say to anyone that wants to get started in sailing, warrior or not, and advice to continue sailing? Like what do you tell people?
Just jump in. Yeah. Just jump in. Just take a deep breath like you're jumping off a diving board and go for it. It's not as complicated as someone may have told you. It's not as complicated as it may look. There's a lot of equipment. It looks a little daunting. None of it makes any sense. Some of it still doesn't make sense to me, but at the end of the day, it's not that complicated. And if a blind guy can run into the Commodore at Falmouth Yacht Club, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
I hope Scott's out there listening, by the way. I love you, Scott.
I don't know where he'll listen to it. I'll tell him he should focus. But yeah. And walk away, having more friends than ever. I think that's an important part. So one of the things too that we've always talked about is, it might be something that you and I have talked about a little bit is I've highlighted this over the last couple of years, is that a lot of civilians don't get to hang out with veterans, and veterans don't hang out with civilians. Or we don't even know some of our friends were veterans, and it's just kind of like they sit in separate bubbles for some reason. And really, we're all in this inclusive together. So Warrior Sailing brings a lot of that together. So out of that, what is something that you've learned from the veteran population through your time coaching in Warrior Sailing that you wouldn't have learned otherwise?
Yeah, I think it's all about gaining more perspective, right? And when you're on a sailboat, you're always trying to get the perspective of the crew on board. And so, whether it's trimming a sheet or driving or what have you, a good sailor is always asking questions. And so, I don't know if my questions have been very good, but the conversations I've had have been incredible. And, I think, of course, it's all of the things you always hear that you gain such an appreciation for, and it's hard not to overstate this, but you just gain such an appreciation for somebody putting their human life into a position between you and harm's way, essentially. And I just, it's really the ultimate sacrifice that deserves the ultimate respect. And I think it's a very humbling process. And so the most valuable thing in my world, my little teeny world, is gaining a little more humility, as I think we all can do. and should do. And I'm just forever thankful to Warrior Sailing for providing that process for me. You know, it's a two-way street. Sailing's a two-way street. Being part of a team's a two-way street. And when you're on a team with veterans, you feel that. And all you want to do is to just enjoy the day. And I think we've always enjoyed the day, and that's something I'm grateful for.
Nice. Yeah, I mean that your answer encompasses kind of the last question, and it's just kind of like, what do you feel like we have in common after you've spent time with veterans and sailors, and the folks within Warrior Sailing? And I think you know it's something always we come back to, and we talk about it from the beginning, is teamwork. And leadership and teamwork is what makes the whole thing work, and that's what makes the boat go. On a simple saying is just it keeps the boat moving forward, and you got to work together from day one, and that teamwork really has kept it all together. So, we really appreciate your time. I want you to make sure that you go get a new car for your brother. Still there?
Yeah, it looks like he left or dropped off.
Yeah. Looks like he fell. That's okay. But anyway, I hope that that was a little insight into Jesse Fielding. We'll send some links out, and we'll record this and kind of send it out again so that people can kind of check that out. If you have any questions again about what's happening with Warrior Sailing, what we have going on, stay in touch. Keep posting on the Warrior Sailing alumni page. As we're kind of working ourselves into this opening up phase and the things that we've been patient with, everything is still, kind of on hold until we've got a lot better idea what's safe, what's going to be manageable. I think at this point, because we are, into the kind of Great Lakes July sailing situation, the next really big thing, besides those of you that are going to be involved in some Great Lakes sailing, is the consistent Wednesday night virtual sailing, more of the Warrior watches, and then looking at August for the certification course out in Park City, Utah. And then hopefully at that point, we've got a better idea that the schedule stays as is and we move forward. But for right now, we're kind of stuck in this. I hope everyone can get out on the water locally, check in with your local sailing club and see if they're starting up with sailing. And most importantly, I want to make sure everyone stays safe and stay healthy and keep your guard up, because you can't go sailing if you're sick. So everybody stay safe. And, we'll check in again with Jesse at some point. But if you have any questions for us, or if you have things you want us to ask him, we can have him answer, maybe just with a little photo or video. But thank you all for tuning in. Keep an eye out for Wednesday. We got Wednesday night virtual sailing. If you haven't gone and started an account at virtualsailing.com, go to virtual sailing, set up an account. Takes a little bit to do the trial to get an account. And then we do a Zoom call like this, that we do some instruction, and then we all sign off and then go race each other on virtual sailing for at least a half hour, 45 minutes. If you haven't seen that, go check it out. If you have any more questions, email Corey or Ian or myself. We have the links and the information about the tutorial.
There was a question about, is it a drop-in thing, or do you have to commit to every week? It's a total drop-in thing. So you can do it this week and skip 3 weeks and then come back. The biggest thing is, like Ben mentioned, just set up an account through Virtual Regatta. It helps to log into the Zoom call right at 6. So then we do a 5-minute instruction on whatever topic we do for that week. But then you'll know the code to log into the regatta. That's kind of the big thing, is just to know that one piece of information so that you can enter the race with all of us. And it is just our group that races against each other. We go onto a conference line on the phone so everybody can talk and communicate. So once one race is over, we start another one. There's a new code, so we announce it on that conference line. So if you can make it, that's a lot of fun. I think everybody's been enjoying it. I've been enjoying it. It's a good time. So hopefully more people are there. And to a few faces we haven't seen in a while that logged on tonight, it's great to see you guys. Hopefully we get to see each other in person sometime soon.
Yeah, it's great. Some more people. We'll probably keep this format of doing it in the evenings just so that we've got more people attending. But keeping out for any announcements. Ian, you got anything with the outreach network over there?
Like Ben said, I'll send out this video. It takes surprisingly a long time for the videos to process afterwards. So I'd expect to send an email out maybe Monday. Shoot, it's Monday now. I'm thinking when we normally do this on Friday. By the end of the week, the recording should be up on YouTube, and I'll send a message out and then send a separate one out announcing the next one. And definitely, if you can do the Wednesday night thing, even if you can't do it for the whole time, even if you just do it for a race, people sail a race, people sail 2 races. It's really fun.
Yeah, just to get a chance to get everybody out. It's fun. All right, well, everybody, be safe. Have fun. Warrior sailing. Peacing out here. Take care of each other.
Yeah, you guys do the same. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks, guys.
I'll take you out, then be safe.
Peace out, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you guys. It was awesome seeing y'all.
Hey, he's back.